and then in 2009 is when you become virus in in Three Idiots, and then you make a directorial venture through Mehta Boys.
Right.
It has been quite a journey.
Yes.
But these two characters were particularly those which are seen as iconic. Would you say that they reshaped your entire, acting career?
You're absolutely right. People identify me with these two characters. I have had a learning curve through a lot of other characters too, but yes, there's no denial that these two, and if I might be allowed to put in one more, was Khosla Ghosla Khurana. Because, and you're all from Delhi, right? And I was cast for that role and I was very hesitant. I went to Delhi to do some research on the character, and I met a young actor over there, not young, young in my eyes, who said, I'm a little upset with you. I said, why? He said, I auditioned for this role. And of course, you didn't get it. So, but why are you upset with me? Tell the casting director or the director, why are you blaming me? He says, you see, you're a Parsi from Bombay. You're a Parsi from Mumbai. If I get a very important role of a Parsi in Mumbai, how would you feel? Yeah, he got a point. I said, now what are we going to do about this? So I said, and I gave such a fantastic audition. I researched and researched. I said, I tell you what, I got a better idea. Teach me. Help me. You must take help. And I used his help, and I sat with him and I did my research. For me, it was a very crucial role in my life, simply because it was the first time I was playing a character that did not live in Mumbai. Who did not live in Mumbai. All the other characters up until then were Mumbaikars, even in theatre. So I had to go to Delhi and sell to the audience.
You are watching The World 24/7 on the NDTV network. I'm Parmeshwar Bava. We've got an action-packed bulletin lined up for you. Let's begin with the top headlines we're tracking at the moment. Russia launched its largest ever air attack on Ukraine, even as both countries engaged in a massive prisoner swap that US President Donald Trump had suggested could spur ceasefire negotiations. Now Trump says he can't believe what Putin's doing. Also, the US President has agreed to extend trade talks with the European Union until the 9th of July and would delay the imposition of its threatened 50% tariff on EU goods, which was scheduled for the 1st of June in order to negotiate a deal with the bloc. The US Defense Intelligence Agency says in its Worldwide Threat Assessment 2025 report that India views China as its primary adversary and Pakistan more an ancillary security problem to be managed, despite cross-border attacks in mid-May by both India's and Pakistan's militaries, while Pakistan regards India as an existential threat. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar and Maldives Foreign Minister Abdullah Khalil are going to review the implementation of the Comprehensive Economic and Maritime Security Partnership today, as the Maldivian Foreign Minister begins his 3-day India visit. Bangladesh's former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has accused the interim government head Muhammad Yunus of selling the nation to the United States. She claimed Mr. Yunus has given the reins of the government to terrorists. Dr. Jaishankar had a telephonic conversation with his Canadian counterpart, Anita Anand, and the two leaders are said to have discussed the prospects of India-Canada ties. India will host 5 Central Asian foreign ministers for the first time, as per reports, in early June, as it seeks to enhance anti-terror and de-radicalization partnerships. The meeting comes amid continued incidents of cross-border terror, highlighted by the deadly Pahalgam attacks last month. Well, our big focus, Russia launched its largest ever air attack on Ukraine, even as both countries engaged in a massive prisoner swap that US President Donald Trump had suggested could spur ceasefire negotiations. But Russia's overnight onslaught prompted Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to rebuke Washington for its lack of response, saying, and I quote, "The silence of America only encourages Putin." Meanwhile, Ukrainian and Western officials believe Russia will ramp up attacks through the summer, as analysts pointed to Trump's growing disengagement from acting as a peace broker. Donald Trump, meanwhile, has just condemned the decision by Vladimir Putin to unleash one of the largest offensives in Russia's war against Ukraine, and he has said that he was considering imposing more sanctions on Russia in response. Listen in to Donald Trump's reaction.
Yeah, I'll give you an update. I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all.
Talked before about putting more sanctions on Russia. Is that something you're considering more serious?
Absolutely. He's killing a lot of people. I don't know what's wrong with him. What the hell happened to him, right? He's killing a lot of people. I'm not happy about that.
My colleague Vishal has been tracking all the latest developments for us. He joins us live this morning. Well, Vishal, Donald Trump, who's largely sided with Russia in this war, says he's now surprised by this escalation and is not shutting the doors on further sanctions.
Well, this is really a surprising statement coming from Donald Trump. The fact that in the recent weeks, ever since the negotiations started between Russia and Ukraine, he has been sort of siding with Putin. But this statement is a departure from tradition. He has directly attacked Putin and said that, quote unquote, he's gone absolutely crazy. And he's also hinted that there could be additional sanctions on Russia. So these are some huge statements. He has in the past, in the recent 1 or 2 months, said that there could be sanctions on Russian banks. So that could be the direction the US-Russia relationship could be heading in. But it's too early to comment on that. But the fact that these statements have come at a time when the negotiations are, the direct negotiations are starting in some ways, sort of hints at some bigger things to come, because he, as I mentioned, he had been siding with Putin in a lot of ways, but at the same time he's also criticized Zelensky in the same statement, saying that the way Zelensky has been talking, it will not do anyone any favors. So, and he's also gone on to attack Biden, saying that it's Biden to blame for the whole conflict. If he were the president, this conflict wouldn't have started in the first place. So that's sort of a reiteration of what he's been saying. But this is a huge statement, and it could be an inflection point in the history of the war.
As always, Vishal, thanks so much for joining us with that update. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has also said that he would pause his threatened 50% tariffs on the European Union until the 9th of July, after, I quote, "a very nice call with the EU chief, Ursula von der Leyen." Trump had threatened last week on Friday to invoke the steep tariffs as soon as the 1st of June, saying talks with the European Union over his previous levies were going nowhere. But Brussels and Washington, they've actually been negotiating in a bid to avert an all-out transatlantic trade war and had agreed to suspend tariff action on both sides until July. But Trump's threat on Friday dramatically raised the stakes. The US leader had said on Friday that he was not looking for a deal with the EU, repeating his often stated view that the bloc was creating, they were trying to take advantage of the United States. Meanwhile, the German finance minister separately on Sunday called for serious negotiations with Washington, saying he had spoken with his US counterpart Scott Bessent about the matter. But just listen in to what Trump had to say regarding the tariff extension.
Spoke to European Commission President von der Leyen. Did you discuss the 50% tariffs, and did you agree to remove?
She just called me, as you know, and she asked for an extension on the June 1st date. And she said she wants to get down to serious negotiation, because I told you specifically, I told anybody that would listen, they have to do that. And we had a very nice call, and I agreed to move it. I believe June 9th would be, July 9th would be the date. That was the date she requested. Could we move it from June 1st to July 9th? And I agreed to do that. And that she said we will rapidly get together and see if we can work something out.
Meanwhile, a US intelligence report has exposed Pakistan's plans, highlighting key points. In fact, the report states that Pakistan views India as an existential threat and prioritizes defense against it, further adding that Pakistan's military focuses on cross-border skirmishes and modernizing its nuclear arsenal to counter India. The US Defense Intelligence Agency further said in its Worldwide Threat Assessment 2025 report that India views China as its primary adversary and Pakistan more an ancillary security problem to be managed, despite cross-border attacks in mid-May by both India and Pakistan's militaries, while Pakistan regards India as an existential threat. This intel report further adds that Pakistan is developing nukes to counter India's military capabilities, as I just mentioned, and this report suggests China is likely providing support to Pakistan's WMD program. Meanwhile, in other news, External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar and Maldives Foreign Minister Abdullah Khalil are going to review the implementation of the Comprehensive Economic and Maritime Security Partnership today. This as Foreign Minister Khalil, accompanied by a high-level delegation, arrived in Delhi on a 3-day visit. You must note that it is his 3rd trip to India just this year, and if you trace back to last year, you'd notice that there was a thaw in our relations as Mr. Muizu vowed to boost the bilateral ties with India during his Delhi visit back in October. My colleague Mohammad Ghazali has been tracking all the finer developments for us as always. He joins us live with an update on the plan of action. Ghazali, the Ministry of External Affairs, as you've been reporting, says that Mr. Khalil's visit is in continuation of the intensified high-level political exchanges between India and Maldives. But just take us through the plan of action.
See, we know Maldives is our very significant maritime partner in the region, and with the kind of hostilities we have faced in the last 1 month, considering Operation Sindoor or from Pak, when it comes to Pahalgam attack, and we know that how China has been backing Pakistan financially, also in terms of providing them arms and ammunition, which was rightly pointed out in that US intelligence report you were just mentioning earlier. So in the wake of these developments, this visit assumes a lot of significance, not just because it's a maritime partner, also because in the last 1 year, India and Maldives have only grown together, stronger. A lot of agreements, MOUs and public projects have been taken up by India inside Maldives. India has been providing financial assistance to Maldives. And to review all what has happened in the last 1 year since Prime Minister Modi or Mr. Modi became the Prime Minister, in the last 1 year, there have been multiple meetings high-level meetings between India and Maldives. We saw Mr. Muizu visiting India. Then Dr. Jaishankar was there in Maldives earlier this year. And a lot of agreements and MOUs have been signed in different domains. And to review all that, there is a high-level core group meeting, which will be headed by Mr. Abdullah Khalil, the Foreign Minister of Maldives, who is accompanied with a high-level delegation from Prime Minister's office, from Defense Ministry, from different ministries. People have come as part of delegation with Maldivian Foreign Minister. So all those agreements and what all has happened in the past, progress, a review of all that progress will be taken up in the meeting. Besides that, it also sends out a message that though we have been sending a ministerial delegation to all those countries to talk about or to expose Pakistan, and this particular visit by Foreign Minister of Maldives is very significant because we are also catering to our immediate neighborhood, because Prime Minister has always spoken about the neighborhood first policy, the Sagar policy, maritime security policies regarding that. And Maldives happens to be one of the very key partners when it comes to those issues.
Ghazali, as always, thank you so much for joining us with the lowdown. We will, of course, revert to you for regular updates. Meanwhile, reports state that Israel's military said it would capture 75% of Gaza in 2 months as part of a major new ground offensive against Hamas. Israel, as you know, has recently escalated airstrikes and aims to confine Gaza's 2 million population into an area amounting to 25% of the strip. This is what reports assert. This as the territory's population is at risk of famine. Humanitarian groups have been warned already. They've been warning the West as well, with many criticizing a new US-sponsored aid delivery system run by contractors with obscure histories and unknown financial backers, as per analysts. The United Nations chief, meanwhile, has said Israel is now letting in a teaspoon of aid. And as per a report, one woman said that she and her 9 children had just a single meal a day to share last week. To get in an expert's view on the current circumstances and the current situation, we have with us James Bowden. James, as always, thank you so much for joining us live on NDTV. Israel now says it aims to seize 75% of Gaza in just 2 months. How do you actually interpret this timeline militarily and politically? And what does it signal to regional powers?
Well, obviously, Israel is trying to surge resources in order to wrap up the conflict. I think that they're watching the international community losing patience, moving towards sanctions and even harder steps. And so they're wanting to complete it. Now, whether they can finish it in that 2-month period, I think that they can. I think that they will get very close to that. They are going to be able to capture a substantial portion of the ground. I really do, though, believe that they should be concentrating underground. But as far as the 2 months are concerned, yes, they can definitely do that.
Right, James. Meanwhile, we're given to understand that airstrikes have intensified, but the ground gains remain slow in comparison. What does this actually suggest about the IDF's evolving battlefield calculus against Hamas?
I really don't see a strategy here. A lot of the so-called airstrikes are just very random building leveling. That's all that they're basically doing. I don't see anything that's precise or well targeted. Hamas is actually underground. They're just waiting this campaign out as Israel captures the ground. So what the calculus is not 100% clear. I think that it's just grabbing land, securing it. Eventually, they may go underground and engage Hamas down there. But again, as far as an overall strategy, I've not seen any.
And given the sheer scale of displacement, the sheer scale of hunger, the warnings that have been coming in from humanitarian groups, James, what do you make of the silence or limited response from key Arab states so far?
Well, there's a dirty little secret in the Middle East, and that is that many of the Arab states in that region really do want Hamas out of the way, because Hamas is a branch of the Muslim Brotherhood, which is an organization that many of the countries in the Middle East that have more open societies have tried to suppress. And so in one way, they don't want to have as much death and civilian injury, but in reality, they do want to deal with Hamas and eliminate it as a group. And so they're walking this very fine tightrope where they've got to appease the majority of the people in their region, but they've also got to see through the final or the completion of their foreign policy position.
Right. Well, as James is highlighting, many Arab states in the region, they do want Hamas out of the way. But James, if Israel achieves this territorial control as they claim to, many are seriously wondering what the day after will look like for Gaza and who will actually govern the rubble.
Yes, and I think that it's very unfortunate because I think it will be more than a 2-year period before we actually come to a solution as to who will be running the Gaza Strip. My organization, Near East Observers, has long been championing a call for a U.S. administrated, but really on the ground 24/7 occupation by 3 different countries with a majority Muslim contingent, which we would hope would eliminate a lot of the possibilities for terrorism and misunderstanding. So it is, but it's going to be a long process. And this has been one of our central worries because we have seen this before and we're already watching it as the different countries kick the can down the road and everyone says, well, you broke it, you bought it. No, it's your responsibility. And the Gazan people are suffering in the midst of that.
Well, James, as always, thank you so much for joining us with your crucial views. We will, of course, revert to you for regular updates in the course of these 2 months.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, an Israeli airstrike on Gaza actually hit the home of a doctor, killing 9 of her 10 children while she was on duty at a hospital. There are heartbreaking stories emerging that we've been covering extensively on NDTV as well, but the latest being that this Israeli airstrike hit the home of a doctor, killing 9 of her 10 children while she was on duty at her hospital. With that, let's turn our attention now to the neighborhood, to Bangladesh specifically, where Sheikh Hasina has leveled some big charges against Mohammed Yunus. In fact, the former Prime Minister, who's been ousted, has said that he has sold the country to the United States. He's in fact Sheikh Hasina has also claimed that Mohammed Yunus is basically propping up what she calls terrorists. There's a big militant charge that Sheikh Hasina has accused the interim government head, Mohammed Yunus, of selling the nation to the US. And she actually says that Mr. Yunus has given the reins of the government to terrorists. Well, for an update from Ground Zero, we have with us live from Dhaka at the moment, Major Reza Ul Karim. Thank you so much, sir, for making time for us. As I just informed our viewers, Sheikh Hasina has accused Mr. Yunus of selling Bangladesh to the US. But her renewed attack follows reports that Mr. Yunus threatened to resign after the military call for general elections to be held in December. Sir, take us through the latest developments and also the reactions to Ms. Hasina's remarks on Ground Zero. Right. Sir, am I audible to you?
Yes, now I can. Sorry. I was unable to listen to you. Yes, actually, see, from the lens of Sheikh Hasina, as she can see, she is continuously giving this kind of statement against Mohammed Yunus. But we need to know that Bangladesh is an independent country, and Bangladesh will not be sold to any country, neither to India nor to America. So nowhere. So Bangladesh will move for her own interest. So as Sheikh Hasina claimed, basically that is a political term, and she can claim all this, but her claims is totally baseless. But yes, there is a concern going on in Bangladesh regarding the corridor issue and also other issues that our chief advisor, he wanted to leave. Basically, it's not that chief advisor had certain annoyance on some issues, especially on the student advisors. Okay. And after that, the student advisors, they spoke to him, and Dr. Mohammed Yunus is convinced by them that yes, they will be listening him. And now the situation is good, but our from Bangladeshi different scholars, other political parties, and also from military, there is a big concern that how the situation will be mitigated, and especially one of the biggest party, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP, from their end, they had also certain kind of complaints that as the election mandate is not declared yet, BNP and also Bangladesh Sena Bahini, Bangladesh Army, both are the very important.
Well, we'll be keeping a very close eye on all the developments in the neighborhood. Major Reza Ul Karim, as always, thank you so much for joining us from Dhaka with that update. And Indian motorsport witnessed a historic moment as Kush Mehni became the first Indian to win a Formula 2 race at the Monaco Grand Prix, and the 25-year-old converted pole position into a win at the reverse grid sprint race. Currently serving as a reserve driver for the BWT Alpine F1 team, Kush Mehni's impressive victory at Monaco has boosted his visibility, as you could imagine. It has also sparked renewed conversations about the possibility of securing a full-time Formula 1 seat in the near future. Slipping into a quick commercial break, back in a moment with much more. Do stay tuned.
When facts are fragmented, we put the pieces together. Where power collides with truth, we are there.
Behind me is that massive security arrangements that are in place.
Behind fractured boundaries, we clear the fog of war. Fault Lines with Gauri Dwivedi, only on NDTV World.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
Well, Malaysia is set to host the 46th edition of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit, ASEAN. The summit will bring together leaders from Southeast Asian nations to discuss key regional issues, including economic cooperation and security as well. This two-day summit that starts today will focus on key issues such as the civil conflict in Myanmar, the ongoing maritime disputes in the South China Sea, and recent US tariff hikes, amidst other important issues. And to Canada now, where the last time Canada's monarch opened a session of parliament was in 1977, when Queen Elizabeth II visited the country as part of a Silver Jubilee tour. But on Tuesday, King Charles III will become only the second monarch in Canada's history to participate in this historic ritual. From a walnut throne adorned with a spray of gold maple leaves, Charles, who is Canada's head of state, will deliver the speech from the throne. Maha Siddiqui has more for you on this.
48 years after the last monarch opened the parliament session in Canada, King Charles III would be present in Ottawa to do the same and to deliver the speech from the throne. This is a hugely symbolic gesture coming in the backdrop of the persistent annexation threats from US President Donald Trump. Prime Minister Mark Carney had earlier pointed out in a statement that the King's visit would reflect that Canada has a steadfast defender of its sovereignty. The King would not be visiting Canada as a foreign dignitary, but rather as the head of the state. And it is expected that during his speech, a strong message would be sent out across the border from Canada to the United States. And that is why royal watchers are calling this a pivotal moment. In normal practice, the speech from the throne is made by the Governor-General as a representative of the monarch. The speech is written by the government and outlines its priorities. This time, the King would be delivering the speech himself. This is a whirlwind tour that King Charles III will be making to Canada along with Queen Camilla, and apart from opening the Parliament, the two would also be visiting a farmer's market and be engaging with the community. But all eyes are closely watching the message that King Charles would send out from the Canadian Parliament to the United States, and specifically to President Donald Trump.
And finally, an Iranian dissident filmmaker who was forbidden from leaving Iran for 15 years won the top prize at the Cannes Film Festival for his movie, It Was Just an Accident. Tehran has banned Jafar Panahi's films, but he continues to direct them clandestinely in Iran. And the plot was inspired by Panahi's time in jail 3 years ago. And despite Iran's restrictions, the filmmaker refuses to live in exile, saying that no one should dare tell us what kind of clothes we should wear, what we should do, or what we should not do. Thank you so much for investing your time and watching this edition of The World 24/7. As always, we'll keep tracking the latest updates for you. Do stay tuned.
When facts are fragmented, we put the pieces together. Where power collides with truth, we are there.
Behind me is that massive security arrangements that are in place.
Behind fractured boundaries, we clear the fog of war. Fault Lines with Gauri Dwivedi, only on NDTV World.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
Boman Irani, your acting career begins at a very young age of 41. And so usse pehle it was photography. You had captured India through the lens of a photographer, and then you worked in the hospitality sector as well. Before that. So while you were, dabbling between so many roles, which one is it, and when was it that you realized that it is acting?
I think when I was very young, my love was always cinema, actually. I used to watch all kinds of movies even at a very young age. Very young, and a lot of people used to wonder why I would watch movies that were...
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast Show. I'm Radhika Ramaswamy joining you from Mumbai studios. Divya is joining us from Delhi. Divya, Prime Minister Modi to launch development projects in Gujarat. Amit Shah in Maharashtra to launch BJP's campaign for local body polls here. And with early onset of monsoon, it's been raining heavily in Mumbai, Divya, since last night, leading to some waterlogging and delay in movement of local trains.
That's right. The monsoon season's coming much earlier than time, whether it was Kerala or now even in the state of Maharashtra. And at the speed at which the monsoon is making its presence felt, and